Some mysteries take decades to solve, and some disappearances are so complete that they become the stuff of legend rather than investigation. But sometimes, the ocean gives up its secrets in ways that no one expects, revealing truths that are more heartbreaking than anyone could have imagined. What I'm about to tell you is the true story of Midnight Thunder, a rock band that was on the verge of superstardom when they vanished without a trace in 1983, and the shocking discovery that finally revealed what happened to them 19 years later. It was supposed to be the beginning of their biggest break ever. Midnight Thunder was a 5-piece rock band from Detroit that had been grinding it out in small venues and recording studios for 4 years, building a reputation as one of the most promising acts in the Midwest rock scene. The band consisted of lead vocalist and songwriter Jake Morrison, 24, lead guitarist Tommy Chen, 23, bassist Maria Gonzalez, 22, drummer Rick Sullivan, 25, and keyboardist Danny Walsh, 21. They weren't typical rock stars, not yet, anyway. Jake worked construction during the day to pay rent. Tommy gave guitar lessons to kids after school. Maria waited tables at a diner on 8 Mile Road. Rick loaded trucks at a warehouse, and Danny repaired keyboards and amplifiers in his basement workshop. But when they got together on stage, something magical happened. Their sound was a unique blend of classic rock power and new wave innovation that perfectly captured the energy of the early 1980s. They had tight harmonies, electrifying stage presence, and songs that stuck in your head for days. Local music critics had started calling them the next big thing, and their demo tape was making the rounds at major record labels. In March 1983, everything changed. Atlantic Records had heard their demo and wanted to meet with them immediately. Not just a phone call or a meeting in Detroit, they wanted the entire band to fly to Los Angeles for a week of meetings, studio time, and what their A&R representative called the full star treatment. "This is it, guys," Jake told the band as they gathered in Danny's basement studio to discuss the offer. "This is what we've been working for." The record label arranged everything. First-class flights, luxury hotel accommodations, meetings with top producers, and the promise of a recording contract that would change their lives forever. For 5 young musicians who had been eating ramen noodles and sleeping on couches for years, it felt like a dream come true. But there was one change to the original plan that should have been a red flag. 3 days before their scheduled departure, Atlantic Records called with an update. Instead of commercial flights, they would be traveling on a private jet owned by Marcus Sterling, a wealthy music industry investor who was interested in backing the band's career. Sterling wanted to meet them personally during the flight and discuss potential business arrangements. "A private jet," Maria said when Jake told them about the change. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious," Jake replied, grinning. "Sterling's got major connections. This could be even bigger than we thought." The flight was scheduled for March 15, 1983, departing from Detroit Metropolitan Airport at 2 p.m. and arriving in Los Angeles that evening. The band would have the weekend to settle in before their meetings began on Monday morning. None of them had ever been on a private jet before. They arrived at the airport with their guitars, a few suitcases, and the kind of nervous excitement that comes with knowing your life is about to change forever. Marcus Sterling met them at the gate. He was a man in his late 40s, impeccably dressed, with the kind of confident demeanor that comes from years of successful business deals. He owned a small fleet of private aircraft and had made his fortune investing in entertainment ventures, nightclubs, record labels, and concert venues. "Welcome to the big leagues," he told them as they boarded the Learjet 35. "This is just the beginning of what success looks like." The plane was luxurious beyond anything they'd imagined. Leather seats, a fully stocked bar, and enough space for the band to spread out and relax during the flight. Sterling was charming and knowledgeable about the music business, sharing stories about other bands he'd helped launch and painting a picture of the success that awaited them. At 2:15 p.m. on March 15, 1983, the Learjet 35 carrying Midnight Thunder and Marcus Sterling took off from Detroit, bound for Los Angeles. The flight plan showed a direct route that would take approximately 4 hours. They never arrived. When the plane failed to appear on radar screens at Los Angeles International Airport, air traffic controllers initially assumed there had been a communication problem or a minor delay. But as hours passed with no contact, it became clear that something was seriously wrong. The Federal Aviation Administration launched an immediate search and rescue operation. The plane's last known position was somewhere over the Nevada desert, about halfway between Denver and Las Vegas. Despite having a detailed flight plan and modern navigation equipment, the Learjet had simply vanished. For weeks, search teams scoured the mountains and deserts of Nevada and Utah, looking for any sign of the missing aircraft. The search covered thousands of square miles of rugged terrain, involving helicopters, fixed-wing aircraft, and ground teams. They found nothing. The disappearance of Midnight Thunder became a sensation in the music world. Rolling Stone magazine ran a cover story titled, "The Band That Vanished." MTV aired a special documentary about their career and mysterious disappearance. Conspiracy theories abounded. Some claimed they had faked their own deaths to escape record label pressure, others suggested they had been kidnapped by obsessive fans. Their families were devastated. Jake's parents mortgaged their house to hire private investigators. Tommy's mother organized search parties that continued long after the official search had been called off. Maria's father spent his life savings following up on leads that all turned out to be dead ends. Years passed. The case grew cold. Midnight Thunder's music, which had only been heard in small Detroit venues, became the stuff of legend. Bootleg recordings of their performances circulated among collectors, and their songs took on an almost mythical quality. The band members were declared legally dead in 1990, 7 years after their disappearance. Their families held memorial services, but without bodies or wreckage, there was no real closure. The mystery of what happened to Midnight Thunder remained one of aviation's most puzzling unsolved cases. Until March 2002, exactly 19 years after the disappearance. The USS California, a nuclear-powered submarine, was conducting routine sonar mapping exercises in the Pacific Ocean, approximately 200 miles west of Los Angeles. The submarine's advanced sonar systems were designed to detect underwater obstacles and map the ocean floor with incredible precision. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen, no relation to Tommy Chen from the band, was reviewing sonar readings when she noticed something unusual. The images showed what appeared to be artificial debris on the ocean floor, about 3,800 feet below the surface. "Captain," she called out, "I'm seeing something down there that doesn't look natural." Captain Michael Rodriguez came over to examine the sonar displays. The images showed what appeared to be the scattered remains of an aircraft, partially buried in sediment but still clearly identifiable as man-made wreckage. "Mark those coordinates," Rodriguez ordered. "We'll report this to the Coast Guard when we surface." 3 weeks later, a deep-sea recovery vessel arrived at the coordinates provided by the USS California. Using remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, equipped with cameras and recovery equipment, they began the delicate process of examining and photographing the wreckage. What they found would finally solve the mystery of Midnight Thunder's disappearance, but the truth was more tragic than anyone had imagined. The wreckage was indeed a Learjet 35, and the tail number matched the aircraft that had disappeared with the band 19 years earlier. But how had a plane that was supposed to be flying from Detroit to Los Angeles ended up at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean? As investigators pieced together the evidence, a shocking picture emerged. The plane's black box, miraculously still intact after nearly 2 decades underwater, revealed the truth about what had happened during that fateful flight in March 1983. The flight had proceeded normally for the first 2 hours. The cockpit voice recorder captured conversations between the pilot, Marcus Sterling, and the band members. They were excited, talking about their upcoming meetings in Los Angeles and the opportunities that awaited them. But around the time they should have been approaching Las Vegas for a scheduled fuel stop, something went terribly wrong. The recordings revealed that Marcus Sterling, who was not a licensed pilot, had convinced the actual pilot to let him take the controls during what he called a smooth portion of the flight. Sterling had some flying experience, but not the expertise needed to handle a sophisticated aircraft like the Learjet 35. What happened next was a cascade of errors that led to tragedy. Sterling, apparently trying to impress the band, decided to deviate from the planned flight path to show them the Pacific coastline. Instead of landing in Las Vegas for fuel, he continued west toward California, flying lower than authorized to give them a better view of the landscape. The plane's fuel consumption increased dramatically due to the lower altitude and the detour from the planned route. By the time Sterling realized they were running low on fuel, they were too far from any airport to make a safe landing. The final 30 minutes of the flight, preserved on the black box recording, were heartbreaking to listen to. The band members, initially unaware of the danger, gradually realized that something was seriously wrong. The pilot, who had been relegated to the co-pilot's seat, was frantically trying to help Sterling navigate to the nearest airport. "We're not going to make it," the pilot's voice could be heard saying. "We need to prepare for an emergency landing." Sterling, now in full panic mode, attempted to reach Los Angeles International Airport, but the plane simply didn't have enough fuel. As they approached the coastline, the engines began to fail. The last words recorded on the black box were Jake Morrison's voice, calm despite the circumstances, telling his bandmates, "Whatever happens, we gave it our best shot. I love you guys." The plane crashed into the Pacific Ocean approximately 20 miles off the coast of Los Angeles. The impact was devastating, and all 6 people aboard were killed instantly. The wreckage sank to the ocean floor, where it remained hidden for 19 years. The recovery operation took several months. Along with the aircraft wreckage, divers recovered personal effects that confirmed the identities of the victims. Tommy's guitar case, still containing his prized Fender Stratocaster. Maria's bass guitar with her initials carved into the back. Danny's electronic equipment, now corroded beyond recognition but still identifiable. Rick's drumsticks, and Jake's notebook filled with song lyrics and ideas for future albums. The families finally had the closure they had been seeking for nearly 2 decades. Proper burial services were held, and the band members were laid to rest in their hometown of Detroit. But the discovery also revealed the true scope of the tragedy. Midnight Thunder hadn't just been 5 musicians who died in an accident, they had been on the verge of musical breakthrough that could have changed rock music history. Among Jake's recovered lyrics were songs that music historians now consider to be years ahead of their time. Their sound, which had been developing in Detroit's underground scene, showed influences that wouldn't become mainstream until the late 1980s and early 1990s. They were innovators, said Dr. Robert Martinez, a music historian who studied the recovered materials. Based on the songs they were working on, Midnight Thunder could have been as influential as bands like U2 or REM. Their disappearance wasn't just a personal tragedy, it was a loss for the entire music world. Marcus Sterling's role in the tragedy was examined extensively. Investigators found that he had been struggling financially despite his outward appearance of success. Several of his business ventures were failing, and he was facing potential bankruptcy. The decision to pilot the plane himself, rather than using a professional crew, appeared to be motivated by cost-cutting rather than any desire to impress the band. Sterling had also lied about his flying experience. While he did have a private pilot's license, it was for small, single-engine aircraft, not sophisticated jets like the Learjet 35. He was not qualified or authorized to pilot the aircraft that crashed. The investigation concluded that Sterling's negligence and reckless decision-making had directly caused the deaths of 5 promising young musicians who had trusted him with their lives and their careers. The discovery of the wreckage also led to changes in aviation regulations regarding private aircraft and passenger safety. New rules were implemented requiring more stringent oversight of charter flights and private aviation operations. In Detroit, a memorial was erected in honor of Midnight Thunder. The city declared March 15 as Midnight Thunder Day, and their music was finally released posthumously. The recordings they had made in Danny's basement studio were cleaned up and released as an album titled Lost Dreams, which became a platinum-selling tribute to their talent and potential. The album's success led to a reassessment of Midnight Thunder's place in rock music history. Music critics and fans who heard their songs for the first time were amazed by their sophistication and innovation. Rolling Stone magazine, which had originally covered their disappearance, ran a new cover story calling them the greatest band you never heard. Several well-known musicians cited Midnight Thunder's influence on their own work. Tom Petty called their song Highway Dreams a masterpiece that was 20 years ahead of its time. Eddie Vedder of Pearl Jam said that Jake Morrison's lyrics showed a depth and honesty that most musicians spend their entire careers trying to achieve. The tragedy also highlighted the dangers faced by young musicians trying to break into the industry. The story of Midnight Thunder became a cautionary tale about the importance of due diligence when working with industry figures and the risks of prioritizing ambition over safety. They trusted the wrong person at the wrong time, said their former manager, who had been devastated by their loss. They were so close to achieving their dreams, and one man's recklessness took it all away. Today, 19 years after the wreckage was found and 39 years after the crash, Midnight Thunder's legacy continues to grow. Their music is studied in college courses about rock history, and their story has been the subject of documentaries, books, and countless articles. The band members' families have established a scholarship fund for young musicians, helping aspiring artists pursue their dreams safely and responsibly. The Marcus Sterling tragedy, as it came to be known, serves as a reminder that success in the music industry should never come at the cost of basic safety and common sense. Jake Morrison's parents, who are now in their 80s, still receive letters from fans who have discovered their son's music. Jake always believed that music could change the world, his mother said in a recent interview. Even though he's gone, his songs are still reaching people and making a difference. In a way, he achieved the immortality that every musician dreams of. The story of Midnight Thunder reminds us that talent and potential can be lost in an instant, but that music, real music, has a way of surviving even the most tragic circumstances. Their songs, which were meant to be heard by millions in packed stadiums, instead reached audiences decades later, carried by the weight of tragedy but powered by the undeniable force of their artistic vision. Sometimes the greatest musical discoveries are the ones that take the longest to find, and sometimes the most powerful performances are the ones that echo across decades, reminding us of what was lost and what could have been. The Ocean kept their secret for 19 years, but when it finally gave them back to the world, Midnight Thunder's music proved that some dreams are too powerful to stay buried forever. Don't forget to like the videos and subscribe to the channel for more short stories.